morality and righteousness into the thorns and brambles of evil and hatred. It is time to stop. Look where you are and go back. I say again, repent. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, that's how I feel. The Conservatives, Mr. Harper, and the party, the Bloc Québécois, Mr. Doucette, have thrown a dead cat on the table. It's a term I've just come across. Basically what it is if you're having an argument with someone and they keep on pointing out that you don't have the facts behind you, that your logic doesn't work, and you're generally making a fool of yourself, what you do is you take a dead cat and throw it on the table. The advantage of having the dead cat there is that they will stop talking about all your mistakes and start talking about the dead cat. The dead cat that I'm referring to is the Niqab issue. A little piece of cloth. And how much ink and how much time, including this time right now, has been wasted upon it when we have so many more important things to say. But it's out there, and I would like to point some things out. First thing I have to say, for the first time in my life, for 5 decades, I am actually ashamed to be a Canadian. I've been through a lot. I have watched Oka. I have seen Canadian forces killing innocent people in Somalia. Right? I have been through scandals in the government. This is the first time that I've been ashamed of my country. The newspapers tell me that 82% of Canadians are opposed to women wearing the Niqab for citizenship ceremonies. My only hope for my country is that people did not understand the question properly, or the question wasn't worded well enough. Right? There are some reasons why people are against it, right? And I'll go through them quickly. Right? One, they're worried about the identity. Is this really the person they say they are? Well, that isn't a problem, because they're more than willing to have themselves identified before the ceremony actually takes place. Right? Second of all, this is a symbol of woman's oppression. And that very well may be true. You know, especially back in the old countries in the Middle East, you know, they're not even allowed to drive cars in some of the countries, and then you can certainly say that women are oppressed. You could also say that even if the women here aren't oppressed, wearing the Niqab provides a fig leaf for the other countries back. But what does that have to do with the person taking citizenship? If the woman truly is being oppressed and her husband is making her wear the Niqab, and you're saying she can't become a citizen if she takes it off and her husband doesn't let her, what you're saying is, I'd rather have this woman be oppressed than be a citizen of the country. On the other hand, if she is wearing it because she feels it's part of her tradition, and the woman isn't being pushed around by anyone, and if you listen to the radio reports from the woman who is going through this court case, she certainly fills that bill. She's not being pushed around by anybody. Those are the type of people we want as our citizens. People who are willing to stand up for what they believe in. So I don't really go with that. And the last one, it isn't part of our Canadian values. I will translate that for you. We don't do that, and I don't like it. That is not a good enough reason to say that somebody can't become a citizen. And things change. Right? I was born 3 years after First Nations were actually allowed to vote in Canada. Mounties are allowed to wear turbans. And in the 70s, that was a huge uproar. Right? We call ourselves a cultural mosaic. Right? Mr. Harper says that our Canadian values are freedom and tolerance. And somehow the Niqab doesn't fit into that. So, he's thrown it on the table, and people are talking about it. And it's working for him, especially in Quebec. Right? And it's working for the Parti Québécois. And so why has he done this? he's done this so he can win the election. Well, I have a problem with that. I view my politicians should have a hierarchy of loyalty. The first loyalty should be to the country. The second should be the constituents, then to the party, and then to themselves. I don't believe that the Niqab issue fulfills any needs for the country and the conditions, so the constituents. In fact, I believe that it is actually a diseased dead cat. It is harming the country. Right? 2 weeks ago, a pregnant woman wearing a niqab was attacked in Quebec. Last week, another woman wearing a niqab was attacked in Toronto. Now, I don't know the crime statistics, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if some individuals, hearing that our Prime Minister, the head of our government, saying that this is not part of Canadian values, felt emboldened to act out upon their own personal beliefs. As well, it's a stupid issue because the Conservatives have already been told that they're out of line by the courts of Canada. They lost the first court case, they appealed, the second court gave a verdict from the bench. They didn't go back to the court. That is a judge's way of saying, why are you wasting my time with this? I don't even have to think about what you're doing. And the next appeal court won't even hear the case. And yet the Conservatives are talking about like it isn't a problem. And then they always talk about radicalization of the youth. Well, I'm sure that telling them that the values that they grow up with and the religion that they're part of isn't part of Canadian values is not going to affect their views upon our country in any way, shape, or form. It is stupid, it is dangerous, it is hurtful to my society. I personally don't really like people wearing the niqab, but that is their decision, and I don't have a right to tell them not to do it. They are not hurting anybody. And I am disgusted that this has become such a terrible issue because it really reflects a nasty side of Canada that I thought we had finally put behind us. So once again I say to you, repent.